All right, it is the Patrick Netherton Show, 11:30, The Tiger. We're pleased to welcome in former LSU quarterback, former NFL and Major League Baseball player, two-sport star. He is Josh Booty, who joins us on the guest line. Josh, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to hear your voice, brother. I love the crowd noise coming in the intro there, brother.
Well, we have a live studio audience here in this 9-foot by 9-foot studio coffin that we're in right now. So we got that. Hey, before we get into all the NFL news and all the stuff that's going down there, I want to go back a little bit because I believe I heard you on with Hester at some point not too long ago, and you were talking about how back when y'all were kind of innovating the forward pass, as it were, back at Evangel, how you lost to a Loyola college prep team, and I want you to know that I've told this story because I was at Loyola at the time. I only attended Loyola for a half a year before I moved to Natchitoches, but in that half a year, we played Evangel. And I'll never forget, they took their backup corners and they put them at defensive end. And because y'all lined up, 41 yards deep in the shotgun and then had a 7-step drop out of that, so where your 10-yard outs were 45-yard passes, they just lined those guys. People talk about the wide 9 technique for defensive ends. This was like the wide 15 technique. And they were so far outside the tackles, they would just run in a straight line at you. It was pretty ingenious back in the day. It
was good. I forget who the coach was at Loyola at the time, but no one had played defense against us like that. And, back in the 90s, early 90s especially, everybody was just running the football, and teams were all trying to mimic West Monroe or Haynesville, and doing the option stuff as well. The Veer was big, Woodlawn with Tyrone Frazier. I don't know if you remember those teams.
Sure.
But everyone was doing the run dominant, and then we decided to go 9 yards deep in the shotgun, and that's how they talked me into being quarterback at Evangel in the very beginning was we're going to put you 9 yards deep, you're not going to get hit, and we're going to throw precision passing routes and let you throw the ball every time, every down, and then also we'll go no huddle. And it just seemed like that would be a lot of fun. I was a huge fan of John Elway, and they'd always push the ball down the field. And so, Loyola came up with a game plan that night. It was my junior year where we played them at Bossier High School, and you remember it. I mean, they put their fastest guys at defensive end. They were light on their feet, but they probably weighed 150 pounds, and all they did was high rush me. And we snapped the ball 9 yards deep, and by the time I was back deeper than that to throw after the drop, I was in a punt formation pretty much, and they were beelining to me, and they didn't give it really didn't give me the time that I'd normally been used to having, with big guys rush from the outside, those speedy guys. So I would step up in the pocket a little bit, and they had a bunch of little defensive linemen, and so they played it completely different than all the other teams that played us. And after that game, we lost that game, but after that game, we had to really adjust what we did. We put the direct snap into the tailback. We did a lot more running the football and stayed a little bit more balanced my senior year, and were able to be able to, beat teams that might come out and do some of that. But Loyola was the first to do it, and I thought it was genius. It made me so mad.
Well, of course it did. And the other thing is, back then, Josh, that you're talking about the early to mid-'90s, the spread offense and no huddle stuff, tempo stuff was a novelty, and so y'all did throw it a ton. But now it's kind of evolved into, okay, it's a spread philosophy, but there's so much more balance in offenses now, the way they run the ball, inside, outside zone, all that kind of stuff. It really is it's incredible the way that those kind of offenses have progressed from we're going to throw it 50 times to, hey, we might run it 50 times if the defense is aligned the right way.
Yeah, being balanced is so key. And, no one used to throw the ball, so we had a distinct advantage against everybody that we're playing because they couldn't duplicate it in practice to prepare for us. And I think now with all the teams going to this spread offensive attack, the RPO stuff that has been implemented into high school offenses and college offenses and now at the NFL level, you can see guys play, especially quarterbacks, that gives them 2 or 3 way outs. It seems like young guys are playing or having more success early in their careers because it does take a lot of pressure off just those old school straight drop backs where, you can pin your ears and rush the passer and make that position super difficult. Now, with the emergence of the RPO stuff, you can see guys, playing in the league early and having a lot of success because it does take the pressure off the quarterback. And now the linemen have to react to a lot of different things that they used to not have to react to. So the RPO and the emergence of that run-pass option-oriented offense is saving the day and keeping a lot of pressure off the young quarterbacks, giving them a chance to win.
Talking to Josh Booty, former LSU quarterback, was with the Seahawks, the Browns, the Raiders, was also in the Major League Baseball as well. I'm curious about this, though, and it's one thing that I think we're seeing a lot more of, and Russell Wilson, a little bit of it. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, what they're doing with him in Baltimore. You're seeing some of it with Mahomes and what they're doing. The sort of infiltration of college game plans and college playbooks into the NFL. Normally, the NFL's been very resistant to that. They've always wanted to fit a quarterback from college into their pro-style systems. I've got to imagine now we're seeing so many more quarterbacks that can play in the league because finally offensive minds in the NFL are willing to do what they do best coming out of college. Yeah,
and athletes are able to play earlier as well. You're right. You mentioned Russell and Lamar and Mahomes, and there's just, there's a lot to this RPO stuff that people don't understand. The spacing, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands, him not taking unnecessary hits, distributing the rock all over. It's back in the 80s, it was such a big deal. The West Coast offense, Bill Walsh, that West Coast offense just took over the NFL, and I think 20 teams were running it, the last 20 years until this spread started emerging. And now we're starting to see, Sean Payton, what they're doing with Drew Brees and Kamara and distributing the rock all over the place. Seems like tailbacks are getting 100 catches. You see it in with McCaffrey at, in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just the number of catches that all the guys that the receivers and backs are making now. It's so much. The stats are so much greater because you can get more plays in the up-tempo offense, especially in college with Oregon and Texas Tech and the LSU last year. We saw the spread and look what it did for the Tigers. I mean, it's just the evolution of offense now, giving these young players, a lot of different outs and options where they don't have to just sit there and drop back and take unnecessary hits. I think that's the real difference. And then understanding spacing. We always saw it in basketball. If you spread the floor and work spacing, how much better it is from an offensive standpoint, or how hard it is on the defense. Same thing in football. I mean, it's just getting guys in the right spots. Mike Leach is the best at it. It's going to be fun to watch him in Mississippi State, but he can eliminate a lot of mistakes just by getting guys in the right places and then understanding where to go with the football. And if you play for a guy like Mike Leach, like Gardner Minshew, you see how much success he can have as a rookie, even though he's a below average probably passer in terms of arm strength and accuracy and build and physicality, but he can play because he's thrown a lot of passes in a wide open offense where he has everything on his shoulders, and he can play at the next level. So you see these guys, they understand football coming out of college and are ready to play at an early age.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how things have gone. You're obviously from a pretty incredible athletic family in your own right, between your brothers and now was your nephew general down at is that right?
Yeah, he's at Allen.
Allen?
He transferred to Allen, and he's going to be playing here in Allen and Dallas. I'm actually up here right now with him. We threw earlier. But, he's going to be a senior at Allen. But, the family, we're all behind him. And, of course, I've got twin boys that are at Evangel that are going to be freshmen. So I'm pretty excited to see them grow up and play football as well.
What are they?
Love the baseball.
Okay, what are they playing? What position are we at? Are they quarterbacks?
Yeah, one's a quarterback, one's a receiver.
Oh, no. Is it you?
Like
is it you and Abram again?
Me and Abram all over again, man. I hope they have that type of success. But I'm telling you, they work hard, they love it, and they've got the size, they've got the speed. Peyton is a quarterback, and Parker's a receiver, and they both should start for Evangel next year.
That's remarkable. I've always said Evangel Football without a booty in is just it. I mean, it might as well not even be Evangel Football if there's not at least one running around over there.
I know. Well, we got two running around now, so those guys are going to make a huge impact on the school, and hopefully they'll help Denny and them continue some of the success and win. We got to get them some players around them over there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Talking to Josh Booty. Tell me about what you're up to nowadays. I know you got a lot of media. You're doing a lot of media. You've got podcasts. Yeah. Tell us how we can find you and listen to what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. At Josh Booty 10 on all social media. I cover LSU. I have my own podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. It's a network out of Los Angeles. It's a huge network, a podcast company. So I help them with the LSU and the SEC. We talk national landscape, especially when LSU's in the mix like they were last year. And also, I do radio spots all over. I was on Fox Sports Arizona earlier today. I was with Jake Plummer doing spots. So I'm always doing media spots. I also work a little bit with CBS up in New York and having fun with them. With Tiki and Tierney, and do the Zach Gelb show. I'm on next week as well. And so kind of freelancing, but have fun doing it. And then I have a consulting and marketing company as well called Big Dreams Ventures, and I work in a ton of different industries, helping them with marketing and business development. So kind of all over the place.
So it sounds like you're still blowing and going. You don't have to, the COVID-19 isn't slowing you down right now, which is good to is good to hear.
I was supposed to be in New York this week, and I'm grounded, man. I can't. I don't want to fly all over the place.
Yeah.
I want to respect this virus, but there's certain cities and certain markets where you just don't want to be running around in New York or LA. I think at this time, but it's better to be in Allen, Texas, or Shreveport, Louisiana. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they're not far apart either, which doesn't hurt. You can get over, get some crawfish, and then get back over and get some barbecue, and you're
right.
living life the right way. Tell me a little bit about about your nephew. We heard a lot about him. I know was it in California or was it in like San Antonio? Where was he to start with? Was San Antonio?
So his sophomore year, Abram was coaching in San Antonio at Cornerstone Christian, and Abram decided not to be a head coach anymore and moved back to California. And he played at J. Sarah last year. Was starting quarterback there in the Trinity League, and that's probably the toughest football league in the country. St. John Bosco, who won the national championship in modern day, is in that league, who was ranked first all year until the final game of the season. They got beat by Bosco. And so the number one, number two teams in the nation are in the same district, and they've also got great other teams in that district, Servite and some other teams, and he played in that league. They were predominantly run first team, so he didn't get to throw the ball a ton. And their head coach and coaching staff, there was a lot of mix-up this year after the season, and they lost their staff. So he decided to transfer to Allen, which of course is football country.
Sure.
With the stadium here and the fan base and the team, and they're always in the top 25. So he's transferred to Allen to play his senior year, and Abram has a business here. His father, my brother, so. It was kind of a perfect little situation for him to move into Allen and play his senior year for the Allen Eagles. But, I'm sure they looked at other places. IMG's kind of like that, where you could, a lot of kids go to school there for football, and Allen's no different. They have just such a huge community up here now with the stadium. I think they hold like 25 or 30,000, so it's nutty.
Yeah, I mean, look, that stadium, I've been by it several times. It's completely insane. I mean, it's no Duron Field, let's be honest, but it's, it's not bad in its own right, I guess, if you like that kind of thing.
Well, there's some special things about Evangel, the friendly combines, but I promise you, Evangel hadn't lost many home games there through, I guess, the last 25 years or 35 years now, I guess. Golly, dates me. But,
yeah.
The school opened in 1990, and, I don't know how many district games they've lost there in the history, but not many at that field.
I don't think you can count them on two hands at this point.
No.
Josh, tell me about mentoring younger players, not just your nephew, but guys that are coming up. I know that's one of the things you do is you work with guys that are kind of moving along and coming up. What's that like working with those guys, and what kind of things do you try to impart to them? Lessons you either had to learn the hard way yourself, or things that you've seen other mistakes, or good things that you've seen other people do.
Man, that's a great question, a loaded question. You know, I work with young kids all the way up, you know, my boys all the way up that are in 8th grade, all the way up to guys that are getting ready for the draft through the years. I mean, I've worked with Aaron Rodgers coming out of college. I've worked with Kyle Orton. I've worked with Derek Anderson, guys. You know, me and Brock Berlin were close, another name there from Evangel.
Sure.
But, you know, it's just, I think being consistent and understanding, like, you throw from the ground up. And for a quarterback, and that's who I like to work with is quarterbacks. And I was at Cornerstone with Abram. I helped him a couple of years ago, and we got into coaching linemen and receivers and backs and all, you know, offense and stuff like that. But I love working with quarterbacks, man, the mental part of it. Me and General, we've watched so much film. We were watching tape of Allen earlier this morning of some of their games last year, just to be as prepared as you can be at that position. You know, if there's no stone unturned and you put in the work, then you're going to get so much more out of it. So for a young quarterback, a lot of these guys, they try to get away with their athletic ability. And I was kind of like that. I felt like I was as good an athlete as any quarterback out there, but you know, I had great coaches. Denny Duron was great. My dad was great, and we were ahead of the curve, and we were more prepared than the defenses we were playing. And I think that's what I learned from Saban and Jimbo when they came to LSU when I was there. When we were on the sideline before the game and we'd look across during the coin toss at the other side of the field, we go, there's no way they worked any harder than we did.
Yeah.
And so we feel like we earned the win before we ever went on the field. And if young kids, they put in the work and they're working smart and they're working hard, you know, it's like you want to maximize your work. You know, you don't want to get bad habits either. You know, so you got to get with a guy that understands what he's doing and really understand, you know, everybody's job on the field and understand the details and down and distance situation. That's what me and General talk about all the time is like, know where you're at on the field, know the situation. You saw what happened when Burrow was put into an offense where he could really take advantage of it. He had great weapons around him, a great system. Brady was huge for him, but he knew where to go with the football. He didn't try to do too much. He got it to the right guy, and the playmakers make plays. And at that position, a quarterback, you get it to the right guy and let them make plays. You don't put added pressure on yourself. And if you've got good mechanics and you've got a good release and you've got good footwork, then the sky's the limit. So we work from the ground up, man. You know, this is really getting down and dirty with the quarterback position, but
go for it.
You got to understand. You know, we were talking about it earlier today. It's like if there's a concept on every play, and your feet have to match the concept. If you don't throw on time and you don't throw people open, then how can you have success? And a lot of kids, they just do what they want to do once they get the ball in their hands, and their feet are all wrong. And that's a big part of playing the quarterback position is matching your feet with the concept. And when you get to college and when you get to the pros, it better be lights out. It better be perfect almost every time, or you will never have success. And that's the kind of things that we work on at the high school level is getting these guys to understand the concept and then the footwork that goes with it. And then you still got to have a good release and a good head on your shoulders to understand what the defense is trying to do. So there's a lot to being a quarterback.
Yeah, if you're reading the left side first, you better not be facing right when you come out when you get the snap. That's for sure. Hey, last couple things, Josh, and obviously we really appreciate your time today. What would you counsel people, players especially, and I'm sure you've talked to a lot of the guys that are playing now, some guys that are playing right now, with the coronavirus stuff, with, we're not sure what's going on. You can't really, OTAs, you don't know if those are going to be able to happen. We're not sure how practice is going. How do you stay sharp in a time period where it's really hard to get together to work with any guys?
Yeah, it's a very difficult time. We've never seen anything like this. Everybody, when have we ever seen, spring ball canceled at LSU, or, the NBA season canceled? We've never seen anything like this. And what we decided to do with General, because they don't have any school activities, and the coaches are even meeting on Zoom. They're meeting from their houses and putting together game plans for the season. They're trying to continue working on things that they need to work on, even all the way up to the NFL level. They're doing all these Zoom meetings, so it's very, very hard. We got out and we ran together this morning, and we threw a little bit. And it's just, trying to stay as sharp as you can be, because you don't know if this is going to last 2 weeks or 2 months or a year, really, to be honest with you. And we watch film as well. I mean, there's nothing better for a young kid. If he understands how to watch film, that's like a real key to a quarterback's success is how to watch film properly. So just going back to the basics and learning, how to watch film. We talked about throwing away from rotations, like safeties and movements and different things like that from a secondary perspective, how to watch the little things. If you're trying to stay sharp, watching film is the key to everything. And that's why the NFL guys, spend 7 hours a day in the film room.
Yeah.
And it's like there's less time on the field than there is in the film room. When you're in high school, there's more time on the field than there is in the film room. In the NFL, it completely flip-flops, and you spend all day that you would in class in the film room. And so the more you can pick up when all this is happening, just from a film perspective and understanding the game and situations, it's key. And that's really getting serious with it, but not a lot of kids want to put in that type of work.
Yeah. Well, all the stories about Joe Burrow only had 2 classes. They were online. He basically was in the football offices all day long. And he won the Heisman and had one of arguably the best single season in the history of the game. That's what it takes, and that's what he did. Hey,
no doubt.
Last thing, Josh, do you remember your hand size measurement at the combine?
I think it was like 9 5/8 or 9 3/4. It was
Okay.
it was bigger than Burrow's. But
Yeah.
there's some guys out there with bigger hands, but it's crazy. It's like sometimes little guys have big hands, like Aaron Rodgers or Doug Flutie. That doesn't match their height, and it's kind of crazy to see how that dynamic works for a lot of people. But yeah, I was probably a little bigger than average.
Yeah, your boy Hester's got some of the biggest mitts for a tiny guy I've ever seen in my entire life.
He does. That's why he could snag those flat routes, man. He had no problem snagging the flat routes with those big mitts.
Yeah.
I know his fingers were the size of baked potatoes.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous. Also, I'm not sure what baked potatoes you're eating, because I don't recall the baked potato hands from Hester, but I hear you, man. That's beautiful.
They're
Hey, next time you get in town, you want to go out and get a round of golf, holler at me, man. Let's go tee it up sometime.
That sounds good, man. I appreciate you guys having me, and I'll hit you up, brother.
All right. Josh Booty, appreciate
Thanks.
it, man. That's Josh Booty, former LSU quarterback.